And good day, everyone! Today, I bring you Chapter 9, the chapter genetically engineered to break the resetting habits of even the stingiest Fire Emblem player that wants to keep every soul alive. It's set up like an escape chapter, and has the exact same qualities as one, but in practice, it's actually a defense chapter, and if any red unit reaches the escape tile before the chapter is completed, then the game is over and back to the start of the chapter. Thankfully, it is already guarded by 3 disposable fodders and Selfina, whom we will get to later. But you still need to bring your army to their assistance, as there is absolutely no way they will hold out for very long. There are 2 routes you can take. The first takes you due west over the hills and forests, but will force you to either dismount your knights or forego them. Alternatively, you can rush south and swing around the bottom of the mountain range, slamming into enemy forces from behind, but this will generally take you a bit longer to do. The first method will get you to your allies faster, but if your foot infantry are fatigued and you only have cavalry to bring, then you may want to go the second route. The second one will also give you a better opportunity to take out the 5 Dragon Knights, as they are the biggest threat to your allies. Either way, you'll want to bring Carrion, Asphal, and Nana for sure. Asphal's wind magic makes the Dragon Rider squad, and especially its leader, much easier to manage thanks to the effective damage. Nana is vital for the charisma and healing support, and Carrion can grab a useful weapon by talking to Selfina. Just don't bring Safie, as there are way too many flying and ranged units that makes it way too hard to keep her safe with your limited numbers in this map. Anyway, in this run, most of my foot units were fatigued from the previous chapter, so I decided to head south, but keep in mind many of the things I will recommend will apply to the second route as well. If you want to try and keep your 4 new allies alive, you've got to put them in good defensive positions, move Selfina to the escape tile for the throne bonus, and dismount Kane, Alva, and Robert so they can move on to peaks next turn. But without further ado, here are your new soldiers. Selfina is pretty underwhelming. Her stats are really bad for a level 8 unit, and her growths don't help one bit. She's also gifted with charge, which she either barely uses thanks to her low HP, or gets her killed due to being pelted to death by even lower HP ballista. However, even with all this, she's still the most solid and easy to train bow user you'll get, purely because she starts with a B rank in them. Bow ranks are the hardest to raise in the game, so if you really want to have an archer unit to use all the powerful high rank bows with, she's your best bet. That all being said, I don't think she's very good, and you can definitely go completely bowless in 776. But there is a somewhat good incentive to training her. In Chapter 13, she can acquire the Brave Bow, which is ludicrously powerful and accurate, along with giving multiple attacks and a very welcome plus 20% crit. And even though it isn't locked to Selfina, given that only one other very late game character has a B rank in bows, and no other bow user is feasibly going to get to B rank, it may as well be. Keep all this in consideration when you go over whether to use Selfina or not. I'm lumping these 2 together and won't even bother trying to explain them because there's no point. They both suck. They're miles behind your other cavalry in every single meaningful attribute, and they have absolutely nothing special to offer. The only reason I could see anyone using them is if they were part of your draft, but this isn't a draft guide, it's a beginner's guide. Just skip them. Now, I could write Robbie here off with the very same concerns, but I want to at least talk just a little bit about him. Don't get me wrong, he's a terrible unit, but he's terrible in a unique way. Now, for starters, I find it funny that being 7 levels behind, Rob is very comparable in base stats to Selfina, and he even beats her in build. Robert's growths are also pretty good, even by Thracia standards, and he brings a move star and a PCC of 3, the highest of any bow user. Unfortunately, all those good things are wasted on Robert because he has a bow rank of E and 0 starting weapon experience, which pretty much just restricts him to iron and steel bows forever, since all the good ones are locked up at B rank. Robert can be a fun unit to use if you're playing a super casual run and don't mind grinding the shit out of his weapon experience, but otherwise sit him on the bench. Now then, back to business. Move your forces along the path you're taking, and if you want to try and keep your allies alive, then try to aggro as many of the Dragon Knights as possible, since they are the biggest threats to their safety. But be careful, as they all have killer weapons. In particular, try to make sure the boss Dragon Knight isn't able to flee to safety after attacking you. Stay near the edge of his movement range, and once possible, a shot from Graf Caliber will in all likelihood one-shot him, which will also deprive the enemy of a leadership star. Along the southern path is a bishop with nice loot surrounded by armors. He has a meteor, heal, physic, and wind tome. You'll want the last 3, so make sure to capture him. Regardless of your path, by now you should be racing towards the mansion, as it's likely the enemy is already engaging them. But as long as everyone is on a peak or throne, the only real threats are the Dragon Knights, so if possible use Selphina to take them out, making sure she can canto back to the throne each time. Once you are upon the soldiers, armors, and archers, it becomes a pretty simple engagement. Just do your best to not die and take them all out. Do try to capture some of the soldiers for their iron lances, as they're very hard to come by without buying them. However, you aren't done when all the enemies are dead, as there are a few items for you to get. First off, have Carrion speak to Selphina to get the Elite Sword, essentially a lighter steel sword that's E rank and gives its holder a +5 bonus to defense along with the Elite skill. Great tools to train any sword user with, or as extra protection for thieves and Leaf. In the house on the very top of the map is the Fala Scroll, yet another Crusader Scroll which gives the holder a +5 boost to strength and magic, and a +10% boost to skill and speed growths. Pure bonus and always nice to have. And lastly, the house on the very bottom of the map gives you an S-Strength, the item that allows the fatigued unit to participate in a chapter. The vendor in this chapter is also the only one in the entire game that sells S-Strengths, so if you have the money, it may be worth it to buy one or two, as every other S-Strength is acquired by stealing, visiting houses, or other such events. Once everything is in order, you can have everyone escape to end the chapter. Next time, the precursor to the Wooden Cavalry.